We have a special guest speaker today and look forward to an engaging discussion in the world of crypto, blockchain, and staking pools. Let me introduce you to our host, Kent Langley, the COO of OpenExO and mastermind behind the ExO economy, blockchain, and the Exos token. Take it away, Kent.
All right. Hi, everybody. It's OpenExO Inc. I don't remember switching it, Nikki, but that's okay. These things always go funny and sideways. So look, we're in for a really fun show today, everybody. I'll be your host throughout. We're going to have myself. We're going to have Saleem Ismail coming in, the author of the book Exponential Organizations. We're going to have Toby Lewis here from Novum Insights, who's going to be sharing more and more and more about the world of decentralized finance and what that means to EXO. I'll be spending some time a little bit later in the show going through as many as I can of the Q&A that's come in over the intervening week. We're running these shows every single week. These shows exist for you, members of the community, members of the world that want to know more about the community, the token, and all that, to come and join us, to be a part of the show. And really special today, we have Mark Hamade. Mark is going to be talking to us about his experiences in crypto. We're going to have a good discussion, and I'll talk a little bit more about Mark when I bring him back later. And then we're going to have a really engaging panel discussion with myself, Saleem Ismail, Toby, and Mark. This is going to be really fun. If you have questions along the way, you're going to be able to bring those together while you're thinking about all the things you hear. Also, we are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and our own video on demand media portal, which is inside the OpenExO platform, which is where all the 7,756 members of the community connect and transact with one another in the marketplace. You see a website here, economy.openexo.com. If you want to learn more, just have a little fun while we're going through and explore some of the blog posts, the videos, and other things. If you find what we're talking about boring, you can go video on demand. The whole thing that we do today will be post-processed and put on that portal after the show. It takes a little bit to get it all done, but it'll be there. And all the past shows are already there. And we've had other guest speakers. We've talked about DeFi. We've talked about the economy. We've talked about tokens, crypto. We've just talked about any random thing. We've talked about what it means to try to come online with crypto if you have zero experience in crypto. One of the things I'm really proud about with the EXO economy over the last 3 years since the token went live is that the members of our community are helping the members of our community and extended community onboard to crypto. We really believe that as an exponential technology, cryptocurrency, blockchains are critical to the future functioning of society as a whole. There are, this is our little place in it, the EXO economy, but it's a much, much bigger world to dive into. And we really hope that these town halls help you do that. Over the next couple of minutes, what I want to do is, before we bring on Saleem, over the next couple of minutes, what I want to do is I want to talk about why we made the EXO economy. I want to talk about what it is today and what's happening to it, because it's growing and it's getting much more engagement and much more excitement. And we've got some fun things that we're doing to take the EXO economy, which is it is a public permissionless standalone blockchain with its own digital asset called Exos. That's capital EXOS, operating on our platform in our marketplace. And there are thousands of wallets around the world these days, and there are tens, if not hundreds of thousands of Exos changing hands, at least on a monthly basis, if not these days on a weekly basis at times. So the economy is growing, the velocity of money is increasing. We made this because when we were sitting around watching crypto kind of grow up, some of us have been engaged in this since 2012 or even earlier. And when we were watching crypto grow up, fast forward to 2016, we're sitting there, we're having discussions about what we're seeing in the space, and we think, gosh, there is no way that the OpenExO community shouldn't be leveraging blockchains and cryptocurrency to operate in the world. We had already seen a significant rise in the value of Bitcoin, for example, at that time, Ethereum and others. And we thought, gosh, well, why don't we have that for ourselves? Why aren't we part of that crypto world as a community? Because we already had a decent size. I think at that time, the OpenExO community was probably somewhere in the low triple digits. So we're talking 100, 200 people. Fast forward to the Genesis in 2018, we had something like 400 people. Fast forward today, we're almost at 7,800 people. And we've created an entire digital economy with its own digital asset that is capable of creating immense possibilities in the world for people to transact and build wealth with this new digital asset over time. There's really nothing else like it. And the reason is because we did not make a token and then say, hey, what are we going to do with it? We saw a lot of this, right, in crypto, especially 2017, even 2018. But we actually spent time building a community of incredible people. And those people have incredible capabilities. They are the people that are out there transforming the world for a better future. They're the ones running the sprints. They're the ones doing fast tracks and changing entire civic mindsets about innovation and investment. You know, they're the ones who are out there combating HIV in Namibia. There are people out there building groups like Women for Impact that are trying to move forward women and leadership in the world. All of these folks are members of the EXO community, and we look at their capabilities. We look at the change they're making. And we say, well, can we tokenize that? And can we do it in such a way that they are the primary stakeholders, that it's their economy? And that's what we made. We made a proof of stake blockchain. It's a derivative. It's a downstream derivative, a clone, if you like, of the original Bitcoin blockchain, but through a bunch of interim steps. You can see those on the website that added something like proof of stake, so that it's just a simple matter of running the core wallet on your laptop and staking. You don't need data centers and data centers worth of hardware to mine on the Exos blockchain. Any old computer will do. We have people out there doing it with a Raspberry Pi, in fact, on Linux. So these things allow us to have our community running the network, our community staking the tokens, clearing the transactions, securing the blockchain, adding the next block, raising the block height to where it is today, somewhere close to 1.5 million, I think, last time I looked, blocks have been mined. Each time someone mines a block, they receive 100% of the transaction fees that are in that block and a small mining reward of 1 Exos. So, I mean, it's our economy. It's not my economy. It doesn't belong to OpenExO. It's our economy. And I think that in general, it's our job now to share that as much as we can with the world at large, so that they know it exists. We spent 3 years. We've been kind of quiet. I'll steal a little bit of thunder from Toby Lewis, who you'll meet later. I think earlier on when I met Toby, he says, gosh, this is the best kept secret in crypto. Why is it a secret? I said, well, we're not trying to be secret about it. We're trying to be super credible about how we build it, right? So we don't run out and make a bunch of unnecessary noise. We build community. We build utility. We make sure the tokens can be used to access the capabilities of all those community members. Anyway, that's what we're up to here. And, you know, that is kind of the mission we've been on, to build this transformation economy. Along the way, neat things have happened. We've seen multiple sister economies form from members of the economy and to do specific things. I'll call out 2. We've got one called Rutaño, which was born in Medellin, Colombia. That blockchain was born in Medellin, Colombia. And they have a tendency to have folks in their economy that do different kinds of services than what we find in the EXO economy marketplace. And they even have their own marketplace. We have Divergenti, which is brand new, really just still a baby. Blockchains don't grow up like servers and data centers. They grow up like babies that are born to parents, and you have to sort of shepherd them along the way and make sure they stay healthy and happy. But those are 2 sister economies, one in Colombia and one in Chile. And I think we'll see a lot more. along the way come online. And we have some interesting thoughts and ideas that we're batting around about how we can grow that and have more and more and more sister economies come online that can leverage and benefit from being part of the ExO economy, the OpenExO community in the marketplace. I'll also mention that this project's been around a little while, and it's not commonly known, but the first discussions about the ExO economy, long ago it was called different things. Everything was different 5 years ago, but this was back in October 2016. We really sat down and analyzed what was happening. Fast forward 2018, Genesis, today. So this is a 5-year-old project and just had its 3rd birthday since the genesis of the token itself. And we've seen unbelievable change in regulatory environments and global environments. We've now got the rise of decentralized finance that is happening. And this is one of the most exciting things that's happening is we've been here, we see DeFi come online, and we're perfectly positioned to leverage it on behalf of the community. So we're doing that. We're creating a version of Exos. It's called a wrapped token that will run on Ethereum and allow us to participate in liquidity pools on Uniswap, PancakeSwap, SushiSwap. We're talking to things like Binance Smart Chain. And these are stepping stones to greater things for what we call liquidity. Liquidity is our newest push, whereas we've been focused on building utility. Utility basically being what the token can be used for and who uses it. And then we originally were focusing on distribution as well, like, okay, who should have the tokens? Well, the answer to that is members of the OpenExO community, clearly. And so with all of that in mind, that's a little bit of a history lesson. It's a little bit of what's been going on through our minds. We've always known that this would take a long time. We never thought this was going to be a quick hit, flip, or we can go out and raise a giant amount of money. Nope, never did that. No ICO. Didn't happen, never will. This token goes public because the community wants it to be so, because they're exchanging value and building value with one another. So these are just some of the things that are on my mind each day when I have loads and loads of conversations, when I get fun questions about why do you have your own blockchain? Well, because we want to master this technology and we want to be able to manage on behalf of our community the full stack. The full stack. You just want to invest in protocols? That's silly. There's way more than protocols. I know billions of dollars have gone there, but the thing is that you've got to look at the full stack end to end, and our community has its own blockchain, manages its own full stack, and can do so. So I'm going to go ahead and start to queue up our next speaker. I'm going to assume that we have him backstage, and see if there's any notes here. Well, there he is. I was gonna say, Saleem, welcome, everybody. If you don't know him, I'm sure you do. That's Saleem Ismail, author of the book Exponential Organizations, 2014, previous associate founder, executive associate, co-founding director. I don't know the whole title, from Singularity University, and about a million other things. But Saleem's my co-founder at OpenExO Inc. He's here today to tell you a little bit about what he's thinking about in terms of the EXO economy and what it means, I think, to civilization. Saleem?
Sure. Let's just go right to the
yeah,
top.
Man, just hit it.
The basic fundamental raison d'etre and the reason for this ecosystem is that we think the world is going through the biggest transformation in the history of mankind, certainly in our lifetimes. Just the simple idea that solar energy in the next 10 years will make energy abundant is a mind-boggling concept. And the energy is 10 or 12% of global GDP. That completely transforms the global economy and global geopolitics, because most of the wars we've been fighting are for oil over the last 100 years. I'm Canadian, and 40% of Canadian exports are oil. And so the foundation of the Canadian economy essentially evaporates in the next decade. And so that's just one of what I call 20 Gutenberg moments coming to totally transform everything that we do, live the way we would live and work and play. Now, the human brain, when it perceives something new, relates to it as danger. because it triggers the amygdala, and then we go, oh my God, no. And we try and stop it. We try and block it. And I call this an immune system response. We see this with bankers fighting Bitcoin and taxis fighting Uber. And you can see that conversation, the tension that evokes. I can think of Trump and Brexit more as that reaction rather than a considered discussion that's evidentiary based on the future of the world. And so as we kind of enter this new phase with the massive transformation, the brain relates to it as negative, but in reality, it's fundamentally incredibly positive. The poorest countries in the world are the sunniest countries in the world. And so that changes a complete dynamic that we never thought possible. So we're kind of entering this new world, and we need a model for that transformation. And we've been building a community and a tool set, and now an economy and a token focused completely on transformation. So in the same way that Filecoin tokenizes storage, and BAT, the basic attention token, tokenizes attention, we're tokenizing transformation. And what we've seen with these tokens is when you tokenize something, it increases the liquidity, dramatically reduces transactional friction, and therefore it decentralizes, and therefore it scales. And given that the whole world has to go through this transformation, every industry, every locale, we're talking to the city of Venice about what should the future of Venice look like. I'm right now in Miami, which in 20 years will have some interesting water issues, and how will they deal with that? That transformation is hitting every single geographic area, every single institution in the world, every organization in the world, every person in the world. And so we need tools and models for that transformation. And what we're trying to do with this effort, with this ecosystem, is to create a liquidity and an ease of transaction and a tool set for that transformation. So that's why we're all here. We've been given the grace in this ecosystem of having credibility, a tool set, a community, access. We have several dozen heads of state using our methodology to run their countries, it turns out. And woe betide us if we don't use it for the highest good possible. And so when Ken talks about our MTP, our massive transformative purpose has been to transform the world for a better future. I like the way Ken puts it, which is transform the future for a better world. That's what we're about. And I think this is one of the major, kind of in a house, you have four major pillars holding up each corner, and you better have all four there. This is the fourth pillar in our overall effort to then take this and use it as a platform and a foundation to ease that transformation globally. So that's what we're up to. Kent, back to you if you have anything specific you'd like me to talk about. I'm super excited about today's discussion because DeFi liquidity pools, I don't understand any of those words. Although we've been in the token space for a while, and I've been going on about blockchain and Bitcoin for a while, this new animal is something completely alien to me, and I'm just dying to hear more from Mark about how he thinks about the world, what this enables, etc. A specific question I'll ask beforehand is, if somebody that I respect very deeply said, if DeFi takes off the way it should, every retail bank in the world will be irrelevant within 5 years. And so, Mark, would you agree with that or not? Is a really key question that I've got as a personal level. But back to you, Kent.
Hello. I'm trying to. There I am. Okay. Thank you, Saleem. That was awesome. You just gave me the idea that Venice may have some global competition in canals in 20 years from Miami, right? And some other coastal cities. So there's going to be a booming business in canal building, I think. So that's going to be interesting. So thank you, Saleem. In general, just like, this journey that we've been on to actually try to get a utility token into the market. Back on April 13th, for example, the SEC released Hester Pierce of the SEC released her opinion of Safe Harbor 2.0. And I think for me, that was a big moment. And I've shared some of that with you. I don't know if you've had time to look at it, but it really speaks a little bit to the fact that we've had some great attorneys and we've had some great advisors over time. But I look at that, and they gave us a roadmap to build a utility token. I think we did it. If you read through that now, today, that just came out on April 13th. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I think we've taken the long view from the beginning, and I think, Kent, you deserve all sorts of credit for this. At the beginning, I was like, let's just create an ERC20 token. And you're like, no, we need to understand how this technology works, and we need practice in this. Every project that we could see appearing had a blockchain component to it. And it's a core competency that we'll want to have in the ecosystem. Hence, fluid chains with the work that Cesar and Najib and others and Michal Monit and yourself are all doing to build deep capability and understanding. Even down to a couple of years ago when we were like, crap, did we make the right decision? And I came to you guys and I said, should we have built our own blockchain? And I think it was Michal who said, look, well, in 6 to 8 months, we'll have interoperability between blockchains and it won't matter. And so therefore, we're better off having done what we did. And it's been correct. And so I think that this is as you talk about it, it's a 100-quarter, 25-year project. This is one of those, we're creating systemic change here, and it requires that deep thinking and infinite patience. I want to do a quick segue just for a second to think about, to give a parallel here. Okay, I was last week at the SpaceX launch with Peter Diamandis, and Elon Musk was there announcing a bunch of things. And I just remember a comment, an observation that I had a couple of years ago about Elon Musk and how he operates. He will look at a technology that's accelerating exponentially, be it neural implants, solar energy, battery power, whatever. Aim 10 years out, where will that technology be on a 10-year doubling pattern? And then build a company to intercept that curve in a 10-year period, which requires a hell of a lot of patience and determination and perseverance and resilience to navigate that 10 years. But if you can meet that, boom, you're done. And there's no catching that. And we've seen what Jeff Bezos has done with Walmart, running the same model. So patience is the name of the game here. And we need that patience to go through that curve and hit the upside in a major way. And that's essentially the curve we talk about in exponential organizations. And if anybody should be eating their own dog food, it should be us. We're trying to do that.
And all the bad flavors sometimes that comes with the patience is the key. I think that's the big takeaway here, Saleem. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Toby next. Toby Lewis, and if you have a word to say about Toby, so we bring him on, that'd be great, and then we'll bring him up here. Toby Lewis is the CEO of Novum Insights. Toby's one of those guys that we met him and he says, what are you doing with DeFi? And we're like, and he goes, what are you doing with DeFi? And we're like, and then he began to educate us when he's like, oh my God, we're doing something with DeFi. And now a few months later, we are very much on the march to, as I said, this concept of a wrapped Exos token on Ethereum as an ERC20 token that can be utilized in decentralized exchanges like Uniswap.
So I just want to say something. A wrapped Exos token on a DeFi liquidity pool is not a phrase I would have imagined ever saying a year ago, right? so this is
for sure
of how fast and dramatically and magically the world is changing. So let's get into it.
I think me too. So Toby, let's get you on stage and hand over the things to you. Toby is the CEO of Novum Insights. You got to check out the tools that they're doing for comparing one token to another in trading pools. Do we have Toby, by the way? And I thought we did. I saw him earlier. You want to? Oh, he's here. He's just not on stage yet. So Kevin fell asleep. All right. Well, Saleem, tell us a story. How was the SpaceX thing? I mean, I saw this thing with the rocket, okay, and there was this huge thing. What was that bubble?
Yeah, I want to show you. I want to show a picture. This was pretty wild. I'll just show it right on my screen if you can see this. Hopefully, you can see this image here.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
So this image is a picture of the launch, and you can see that sphere. It was a spherical kind of light explosion that was almost like a sonic boom. And if you look carefully, there's all these little ripple effects in there. Every time the rocket fired, it lit off one of these ripples. And the NASA folks said, we've never seen this before, this effect. No launch has ever produced this effect, just some combination of temperature, humidity, etc. It was a really unbelievably magical night. I was standing with the X Prize team and watching this, going, "What the hell is that?" So there's a unique moment for you. And now we have
a video.
Toby. Welcome, Toby.
Yeah, welcome, Toby. There's a Saleem video. Saleem did a little video. You can go find it. It's on his website. So I don't know where you put it, Saleem. Wherever you put that video, it's out there somewhere. But Toby, welcome. We're a little behind schedule, so I'm just going to turn it right over to you for your session here today. Take us right into what you'd like to share about the ExO economy, DeFi, anything related. Toby, the floor is yours.
Yeah, amazing. And sorry, Saleem, for subjecting you to buzzword bingo in terms of the DeFi world.
No, these are all important phrases that I'm trying to get my head around my head. So
but, yeah,
it's critical we become well versed in this, and I can speak for the entire community. Our entire community is just getting their heads around the crypto, and then you guys go DeFi liquidity pools, and we're like, so it's a great time to get into it.
And I think what's super exciting is we're bringing you to the DeFi liquidity pools and Ethereum, and there's just an array of influencers in just the innovation economy generally, and influencers in the DeFi world who are all converging on this project. Because I think, as Kent says, I've said before, I'll say it again, I do think it is the best kept secret in crypto, and it's rapidly not becoming a secret, right? It's a very well-respected, well-known project, and I think that the goal that you all have to be able to use this transformative economy to be able to try and sort of change the world. And what I think is really, really great about it is it can be used as the catalyst for so many different things. So the way I see it is a fuel to power a lot of the ideas and projects being developed by Saleem, Kent, and all the 7,500, 8,000 people within your community. So fantastic. I think a lot of progress is being made. You need to tell everyone about this now because it's a huge opportunity from my perspective. I think there's a lot that will go on for early participants of this, and there's a lot to learn. So beyond that, what we've been doing as a team, working with the Exos team, is beginning to figure out how the Exos token can go onto Ethereum, and then what will happen is it will appear on a so-called decentralized exchange where you will be able to effectively trade the Exos for Ethereum. And when this works well, what we've seen is even in a week or two, these economies can get to billions of dollars in scale. I think obviously we're working with a careful and sensible launch. I think it's really, really important that the project comes to market in a way that is protective of the economy, and we're just incredibly excited about how quickly the Exos team has moved, what they've done, and just the potential is immense, right? What I see as possible for everyone within Exos is an ability to bring some of your most your biggest desires to life, right? Saleem had quoted Kent earlier in terms of sort of you're very much using the Exos economy to change the future. And I'm paraphrasing Kent, but
thanks.
I think that's what we're doing here, and the DeFi craze / I think definite profound transformation of finance is is, I think, just going to be a catalyst. It's like all tech revolutions. At the moment, the tech is front and center. But what I think is important is actually the early projects that work to transform and change the world and use the tech as an enabler. And that's what Exos is doing.
That's amazing, Toby. Thank you. Before we keep moving forward and getting to our special guest, Mark Hamade, today, Toby, what have you observed since the last town hall? I ask you this every week. You should be getting used to it in the world of DeFi that made you go, whoa.
Yeah, no. So there's been a transformation of lending, and I'm still trying to get my head around it. But Aave, which is one of the better known decentralized platforms, has come out with a mechanism that allows you to both stake and borrow at the same time. So effectively, that you can the way a DeFi loan can often work, and to be honest, I'm not 100% positive on this trend, because it seems to me a bit, it's almost the sort of the financial innovators running wild in some ways, and this is the problem when you get technologists and mix them with finance, that crazy things happen. But effectively, you're able to port a loan. So effectively, the way a DeFi loan works is often like a deposit on a house, right?
Yeah.
Imagine the equity you're putting into the house compounding in equity value as well. They've added in a mechanism where you're putting equity in and your equity is accruing interest. At the same time, you're borrowing something that is also accruing more interest, right? So
lending something out, right? So
yeah.
That's could be dangerous. So that's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of people going, and
yeah.
I've had a lot of smart, and I think there's a bit of game playing, because at the end of the day, what they're really saying is we're lending you at lower interest, and it's kind of like, yeah.
We went through all this work to avoid double spending with the blockchain and consensus algorithms, and now we've got double spending via lending. I don't know. That's a little funny,
yeah.
But we'll see what happens there. So Toby, that's awesome. Great insight. And if you have any links or anything to share, any of the forums where people can go research those things and dig in. One of the things that you're helping us do, that the team at Novum is helping us do, is drive education about decentralized finance into the OpenExO community. Thank you for that. We've got a lot of work to do. Really appreciate it. So Toby, thank you so much. I'm going to talk next about our next guest. We've got coming on Mark Hamade. Mark is, and let me make sure I get this, Mark is the co-founder of CanETH. CanETH is a decentralized staking pool network, and he is also a co-founder of an agency called The Future Is Now. We're lucky and we feel privileged to have Mark here with us today. Mark is going to take the floor for about 15 minutes. Mark, welcome to the show. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
You didn't log on after you heard the first few minutes. Log off after you heard the first few minutes, so you're still here. That's great. And live shows are always a treat. So we've had some fun behind the scenes in the last few minutes, but we're here. And Mark, really, I'm just going to hand it over to you to talk about the work that you're doing at CanETH, the work you're doing in DeFi, and even a little bit about what you're seeing from the agency point of view in the crypto space. I think would be fascinating. But really, anything you want to talk about, it's yours for the next few minutes.
I want to comment on a couple of things that you guys said.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
The first thing that you said about ICOs. ICOs weren't bad. The people were bad. Let's remember that.
Fair enough.
You will never find a company that has failed due to great leadership. And people will say, well, Mark, look at Steve Jobs. He failed the first time, and he's a great leader. No, he wasn't a leader. He brought a guy who was a top leader in selling sugar, which is sugar is an addictive, the Pepsi CEO. And he took 10 years of what Steve Jobs did and poof, right? And so then when he came back, he built it, right? So now, as far as SpaceX, I always like to ask the why, right? So what I love about blockchain and crypto and all of that, it allows anybody, regardless, you don't have to be intelligent, you don't have to have all-star IQ, and anybody can be part of it. And that's what I love, whether you're a farmer, whether you're a teacher, no matter what it is. And every job is complex in its own ways. When I was in the Marines, I cleaned toilets and latrines. They're difficult to get them really clean, So you have to appreciate everything. And with SpaceX, if you ask why, if you look at NASA was trying to do the same thing. So he had the vision, but what he did different than anybody else, the team that he built was world class. When I looked at the SpaceX team, I'm like, if he can't do it, nobody can. And that's the key. Then the third thing is Gwen, the president. She does not get enough credit. She is the glue. His personality is good, but can get people to quit quickly. Look at Tesla, right? He's a guy that when he tells you something, you better keep quiet, go and think about how you're going to do it, not say no or maybe or whatever. And there's nothing wrong against him, but I think she doesn't get enough credit for what's happened. And he is a visionary and creative and all of that stuff. But I think that's important. And so with all this stuff, if you think about it, and I've said this, is a person a good human? If they're a good human, okay, are they smart? You want to work with them. Whether they have money or not doesn't matter. So when we look at everything, I'll use Saleem's exponentially, right? In AI, in everything, we've exponentially done amazing, right? But humanity has gone down, right? And so when we look at everything, what's the most important thing? If you want to do clean energy, solar, are you paying your employees well? Are you taking care of people? The whole Earth is useless if we're not there, right? And if you look at all this stuff that we've built as far as rockets and stuff like that, in the old days, it's much harder to kill each other. Now it's becoming much, much easier. So I think it's important to really work with good humans, good people, and really do that to innovate. Because really, when I was born, my grandmother's like, you need to go to school, you need to do well, because I'm supporting you now. You're going to have to eventually support me or support your family. We were not born to leave a mark. We were born to just feed our family, support life, and then from that, you can have the accessories of leaving a mark on this earth and helping everybody. So I think people lose sight of that. And so when you build a company, it's not about how fast it can exit and boom. It's, are you feeding employees? Are you allowing people to prosper and nurture and so forth? And so that's where the blockchain technology and so forth, I love. Even when I worked in construction companies, right? You have an architect, you have an owner, you have all these different entities, 70 to 80, and everybody blames everybody else. The blockchain can hold them accountable, right?
Yeah.
And I tell people, you think having a contractor at your house is a pain in the butt? Try when you're building, a power plant, or a bridge. So from that, now what I love about Kenneth, and I'll talk about the future now. Kenneth it's about staking, but doing it the right way, and then it's about investing and supporting these other companies that are doing good. So it's all an ecosystem. We all need to be supporting each other. Now, from the future is now, and even ISE Media, which I'm part of, ISE Media, you need media and truth to be told. I don't care if I agree with it or you agree with it. It's got to be the truth. Allow the people, and the future is now. It's about elegance, right? And so people like something sexy. People like something beautiful, and so that panache. If you look at Apple has a great product, but it also looks beautiful, and so it's not about manipulating, but influencing. And so that's kind of what. So all of it is important. So I look at myself kind of like a barbecue rub, right? So I like to rub myself on when I'm needed. If somebody's better than me in whatever they're doing, you don't need my help. If they're not, you need me. I remember talking to an owner who said to me, Mark, McKinsey did all of this for us. I'm like, okay, where is it? Well, the book is over here. I'm like, did you execute it? No. I'm like, well, what's the point, right? So it's about, execution, responsibility. accountability and not having ego, the confidence. And so this is what I kind of love. And when you talk about this project being for so long, that's great. Nothing gets done quickly. It takes time. I remember when I was in a wheelchair and I lost 254 pounds, I had to put a plan. You have to see the forest, and then you have to see the trees. And you slowly get there. Because like building a building, it's in sequence, and you have to put the foundation. So as we put the foundation for DeFi and the ecosystem and so forth, that's when it becomes amazing. Now, as far as Saleem's point on banks, well, banks are like the mafia, right? When they see you hungry, they feed you, and then they leave you. And so I think eventually that's going to go, but we've got to get the exchanges are not doing a good enough job with security. Until they do that, the banks are going to still be lurking. So that needs to get better. So those are a few points that I have.
Oh, okay. Okay, wonderful, Mark. Thank you for the commentary on the prior bits. And also, I really do want to hear a little bit more about what you're doing with Kanaeth. I don't quite, I'd just like to know more. It's came to me as a decentralized staking pool network. So how does that play into the world of DeFi? What benefit is that providing to people out there? Just it's not directly connected to the EXO economy at this time, and that's fine. But how might it be? Let's just sort of,
absolutely.
yeah.
So we got it merged with iMining in Canada, so it's public, and basically it's to invest in other projects, and so that way it's the problem right now is the electricity, and that use, and want to make it more sustainable, and so when you're mining and when you're staking, it doesn't use as much electricity. And using the 2.0 and then the stake and then everyone really working with each other and taking care of the miners instead of, here and there and that. But then also with mining, it's profitable. Take that profit and invest it into other projects that are not necessarily profitable right away, but add meaning later. But they need money. So it's really like kind of like a mama bear in a sense. Because you're taking what it's doing. Exchanges take their money, and what do? Keep it.
That's right.
And you're having billionaires. They're not even investing in security. They're not even, if $5,000 was taken out of your account, they're not even insuring it.
That's right. One of the things I really find interesting about DeFi versus centralized finance, and this does apply to the centralized and decentralized exchanges as well as banks and everything else, is that in the decentralized finance space or DeFi, the market makers, you actually have a chance. Anybody can have a chance to become a market maker. And I think I don't know that that's extremely well understood in a lot of areas. What do you think about that? Because I think it's incredibly democratizing, for the world of finance as a whole.
Well, it's finally getting there. It's kind of like when people use the word disruptor. And I'm like, what do you mean by explain to me what you're disrupting, right? It's used too much like water, right? And so I think with DeFi, nothing was really DeFi'd or decentralized before now. And we still have a long way. But look at the internet. I mean, it takes time, right? And if you read these white papers, and I even tape people, and then I listen, and you hear these words, and you're like, this is wow. But then I'm like, okay, put it in action. Well, Mark, if you can't put it in action, ask for some help. Let's put a plan together. Let's get a couple of teams together, right? But don't go too far off, because then what happens is it affects the other groups that do well. And that's the problem with the ICOs in the beginning. You had all these guys who are probably incredible marketeers, incredible, panache, and everybody's like, these are good humans. They want to help save the world. Let me put all my money in them, and I'm going to be wealthy. And then you're like, what?
Maybe
their office is empty. There's crayons.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. It turned out maybe so many, not all of them were what they. I think this is a critical point, and I want to transition this into also just a little bit about the future is now as well, because what you can do, if you want to, you can go out in the world, you can make if you have a bit of money, it doesn't even take that much, you can make a big splash, you can make a big impression, you can attract a lot of money, especially when markets are frothy, like right now in certain spaces, and like they were in 2017. And you can just disappear, you can do nothing, right? There's a version of this even that exists in, say, the incubator space, where people get very, very good at winning incubator competitions. They make a good bit of money doing that, and they never make what they set out to make in the first place, right? This can happen. There's lots of versions of this, and I not so nicely, I suppose, call those incubator chasers. And I don't like, you get asked to be an advisor for one of those. Watch out, it's not going to be what you think it is. And same thing's true in the blockchain space. So I guess I'm a little bit proud of the fact that we took the time. I remember telling Saleem in 2017 or so, it's like, hey, Saleem, this is a 100 quarter project. Are you sure we want to do this? And it's just like, and the answer was yes, because it was the right thing to do for our community. And we knew it was going to take a lot of time. So it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Take your time. And I can tell you how many people I've had to deal with that are like really impatient. Why aren't you on exchange XYZ? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? I'm like, it will happen. And actually it's even happening faster than I predicted. So I'm happy about that.
But you wouldn't have what you have now if you did it quickly. I don't care what anybody says. And
100%.
And you see it whenever you don't, I tell people, I go, when I got in the wheelchair and I used to work out, whatever, and then you get in the wheelchair and you're like thinking, I'm going to get out of the wheelchair. And when you don't get out and you gain all that weight, I'm like, okay, let me do a diet. Which diet should I do? Yeah. I'm like, oh, it's a $50 billion industry. There's all these diets. Obviously, none of them work. So I'm like, I need to do a lifestyle change, right? So again, it's about executing properly and not losing it again.
That's right. And it's a mindset shift as well.
And staying there. And so if you build it properly, it works. And if you look at, that's where I kind of respect, Warren Buffett, whatever, no matter what he says, the one thing you got to give him credit for, when he became a billionaire with Geico, he said, look, insurance makes money. No one's arguing that. All I need to do is get a good leader and we'll be good. And that's what he did. Right. And it's the same thing with here. You want to get somebody who's an innovator, right? Who's not a narcissist, right? Who really cares about the why.
That's right. I love Buffett because he's the thing he understood was exactly what you said, and compound interest. So if you mix together his understanding of compound interest and leadership, you basically have the formula, right? And he's investing in those leaders and then getting the hell out of their way and letting them do what they do, because he knows that's his version of generating compound interest over time across a widely diversified series of investments. I've read a ton of his stuff and I'm a big fan. I don't agree with all of the things he has to do and say. And for how many years was he totally anti-technology? And I'm still convinced he might be. I don't know this for sure. It's just and it's really the advisors around him as he's began to cede some control who are bringing in some of the tech to the organization. But
of course. And people tell me, well, Mark, he drinks a Pepsi now and he eats and he saves a penny. But I say, okay, but he has a $40 million in Newport Beach. And he has a private jet. So, don't give me that BS, right?
He did something right, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he doesn't appear, as far as I could tell, to have stepped on a lot of people to do it. So he did it himself. That's great with his partners and friends. So in the last couple of minutes we have, Mark, I know that you're working with the Futures Now. This is an agency. Now, what's interesting to me about this agency and its involvement in cryptos, you must see some interesting things, right? You must see some interesting things come around. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you're seeing out there, because we've sort of seen these peak markets and froth, and we know money flows through marketing and PR when this happens. But what would be a word to the wise? Tell us, like, don't do this, do this, that kind of thing.
Well, so Miguel Francis Santiago, who
spoke to him a couple of days ago. Yeah.
So I've dealt with like DreamWorks, and he is that good. Bottom line. Amazing. Okay, but what I've always said to him, and I always push on this, all you have in this world is your reputation and integrity. Plain and simple. That's it. And it takes you 30 years to build it, and you could lose it in 2 minutes. Right? And so again, it's about, and people like pretty, right? Sometimes you want the texture of the cake, you want it to taste good, and you want it to be low fat. So that's how I look at it. We analyze the project and see where, and then really, we what I would say, we take the greatness out of people, right? You want the greatness out of the person and accentuate their vision, their creativity, and everything. But
That's
there's
awesome.
a lot we look at, and they're like, we'll offer you this, and we'll give you a 50K and all these tokens and blah blah blah. And it's a shyster deal because I use common sense. Okay, I'm dumb and you're smart. Show me. Like Amazon, right? Amazon, you order this and you send it. Now the technology, and if you talk to the CTO behind it, it's technical, just like this. But if you cannot explain it to a grandmother, to an 8-year-old kid, something is wrong. It's like a sales plan. I'm like, if a sales plan takes 6 months to explain, run. Right?
I resemble that remark at times. I completely understand. Well, let me tell you, Mark, number one, thank you so far for everything you've done here for us on this event. It's been amazing. Love the energy that you're bringing, and your experience is evident. We're going to move into a panel format next. So we're going to be bringing back, I believe, Saleem and who else is on the panel? Is it just the three of us today, or do we have... let me just check. Toby. Yeah, I think Toby had to go, so we might not have him here. So it'll be the three of us. Now, gentlemen, I've got a bunch of questions that have come in that the team has been aggregating from all the different social channels where we're broadcasting. I also have a list of about 50 questions that came in over the course of a week. We're clearly not going to get to all that, so I'm going to try to pick a couple of things out. But I'm also going to say, Saleem, if you have a question or something that you can pick out of this whole thing, propose it to the two of us. Mark, same thing. If you would like to challenge Saleem and I on something, same thing. We can interview one another on this panel. I think that would be pretty amazing. Okay. But I'm going to kick us off. And Saleem, somebody asks a quick one, I think. Saleem, can you provide the source for that quote? Every retail bank will be irrelevant within 5 years. I think we know the source. Yeah.
I can't remember because otherwise I would have referenced it.
Yeah.
I can't remember because here's the basic idea. A retail bank is just a consolidated ledger of transactions. Like I lend Mark $1,000 and you deposit $1,000, and it has a secure ledger. And we trust our life savings to the security of that ledger. And the centralized authentication of that ledger, which is why we put trust in a JP Morgan or a Chase or a Bank of America or HSBC or whoever. Well, if you have a DeFi liquidity pool or a DeFi system of a ledger with everybody having full clarity and you having a trustless system, why do you need the retail bank? Now, the blockchain provided one layer of that decentralization, but a DeFi liquidity pool would essentially has exactly the same functionality as a retail bank without the brand label, overhead marketing, and totally democratized, and doesn't need the authentication. Banks spend a massive, massive amount of money on the security of that authentication of that ledger, and you don't need any of that in the future. So if the DeFi liquidity pool becomes rich enough, in the same way that a trading pair of Ethereum to Bitcoin doesn't need a middleman anymore, why do you need a retail bank? And so the basis of the disruption is there already. It's just a question of putting a wrapper around it, and off you go. Now, if I was the retail bank, I would go set up a branded liquidity pool where people would have trust. And I think, Mark, you hit a great point earlier about the trust level of exchanges is lacking, and they're not being solid enough and robust enough around security. We saw what happened in Turkey over the last few days.
They act like banks. They act like banks.
And that happened in Canada about 18 months ago. A dear friend of mine, all the Bitcoin went away. For that. And it was just, it's nuts. Mark, what would you add to that around this concept?
Again, if you look at them, there's the greed, because they're making so much money. But they could have shut down the banks. But if you look at the banks, about 1% of the people at the banks are truly hardworking. Even if you go through an IPO and you go to New York and you want to go on a roadshow, they're lazy. They all send you to the same people, right? I mean, that's the problem. Recently this a company owed like $8,000, and the company got it, and the vendor said okay, and Citibank was going to pay it. The guy sent them $8 million instead of $8,000. And the judge said, well, they get to keep the money. And they were celebrating in the office, and they called Citibank, and they're like, you're harassing us. Don't call us. Don't call us. You know?
Wow. Okay. Okay, that was
True
fun.
story.
So let me throw another one out there. I like this question. It's fun because you were just down in Cape Canaveral, Saleem. You saw a big rocket take off and send some people to the space station. Do you think, Saleem, that people are going to be able to pay for space trips with Exos anytime soon?
It might take a little while, like a year, but first let's get the space trips going. Let's put it this way: the ability to actually take space trips will happen after the ability of Exos to pay for those space trips. How's that?
Yeah. Well, Branson's about to put his money where his
factor here. Right.
Got it. Branson's going to put his money where his mouth is, right? And fly into space on one of the Virgin trips. I understand sometime soon.
Yeah.
Mark, I think if you wanted to go, if there was a tourism trip going up and you had BTC for sure. I don't know if SpaceX is going to take Exos tomorrow. We have more work to do. But Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin for sure. I mean, I think he would. I can only speculate. What do you think?
Yeah, look, and even this coin. Look, Elon Musk is a sharp guy, and as long as you show him the method to the madness and the why, he'll do it. It's just getting him to be attentive, right, and to listen to it. And again, Bitcoin the problem with Bitcoin is it still has some bad actors. Ethereum to me has less bad actors, and so does this too. And that's again the issue. And people forget, when Silk Road was going on, and that got shut down, the federal government had the Bitcoin, and they were using that for Candelus type of projects.
Yeah.
And so again, I go back to trust, and transparency. When you have trust and transparency, whether it's in a marriage, dating, business, anything, it builds and it lasts. Yeah. I don't care if it's the church or, whatever it is. When trust and transparency goes, it cracks eventually.
And that's
the key
excellent.
here.
Yeah.
If you keep the trust and transparency and don't let the ego come in, you can be number one. I always tell people responsibility, accountability, and execution. Pretty simple. You just do those, stop saying and do. People will, blah, 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 blah. Okay, do it.
I think, yes. I'm just going to go and say yes to that, because if we would all be that way, even in the little things we do, wouldn't it just be better? I mean, really, but most people just, they do not do what they say. So many people. And I do try to battle that. Guilty sometimes as well. Life is busy, but I couldn't agree more. I've got another interesting question here. So I'm going to read it exactly as it's written, and then I'll assume a little something about it. Will crypto outnumber fiat in the next 10 years?
What do you mean by outnumber?
Yeah, I think by outnumber, they mean, if you imagine, so for example, we know that the combined market capitalization of BTC and ETH together, is the total crypto supply just surpassed the Canadian M1 money supply. Okay, so maybe we can think about it in that way, but outnumber, subsume, be the dominant form of monetary exchange. That's the way I took the question. What do you think, Mark?
No, because you can keep printing it. You can keep printing fiat.
Oh, that's a whole other.
Is it gonna be more worthwhile? No, it's gonna be worthless. But they keep printing.
So this is an interesting one, and I know, Saleem, because of all the talks you've had with some of the members of our community about printing money, inflation, deflation versus inflation. So some crypto is deflationary versus inflationary. It has a different style of baseline economics that helps avoid the printing problem, right? The central bank piece of that. Saleem, I know you've got some thoughts on this. We've talked about it a bunch, but they can the governments can just keep on printing money. maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know.
No.
I know.
I think it's more dramatic if you go back and listen to the 2-hour, town hall we did on this. An hour on why fiat currencies fail and why Bitcoin cannot not succeed, or crypto in general cannot not succeed.
Yeah.
And the big conclusion from that was that the printing of money is the only tool left to central banks. And one of the kind of eye-popping, brain-shaking conclusions I arrived at the end of that discussion was that not only is it's not that every central bank will be irrelevant at some point in the future. Every central bank in the world is irrelevant today. Like it's there, it's already done. And that's a mind-boggling thought to get your head around. Mark, you're muted, I think.
Yeah, and as it stands, right? And whenever we talk about a bank or whatever, I always say, if you're looking at a unicorn, does it look like a unicorn or is it a horse? What it really is. But the way it stands now, yes. And to go further, look at the PPP, right? One guy applied for 30 PPPs and he got them. The same application he did 30 times, millions and millions of dollars, bought Porsches, Lamborghinis, cars, and then he put it on Instagram. As
Mark Goodwin would say, we call that evidence.
Yeah. and I mean, but it's like they can't track the money. And even look at what the banks did. When the federal government gave the stimulus or whatever, banks kept it so they can make a percentage off it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I know so many businesses that really needed small amounts would have done it, right? Or couldn't get a dime. Yeah, OpenExO counts.
Yeah.
Many of the companies that we've worked with over the years count. The freaking pandemic was hard economically.
It's got to go to the Ruth Chris's that have look. I always tell people when they say about racism and this and that, I'm like, you know what? We're not blaming one particular group. The lawyers, okay? The lawyers. I always say, whenever I try to go after people when it comes to child molestation and stuff like that, I don't only go after the person. I go after the lawyer. You have kids and you're representing that person, just say, you don't have any morals.
Yeah.
And you just want the money. I'll respect that. But don't pretend, I want to defend him. And, when you have 64 counts, no. And so the lawyers for the banks, the lawyers for some of these, a small company doesn't have that. The Ruth Chris lawyer already knows, whether it's Trump, Biden, or whoever, they already know what's going on. They're already ahead of the game. That's the thing, right? And so there is no equal footing. That's where blockchain and crypto is different. Like I said, anybody can get it. Not anybody can go play at the Masters, right? Not anybody can apply for this particular loan because of all the semantics you have it. But if you know what's going to happen ahead of it, it happens, you do it.
I like that. So now that invitation I gave you at the beginning, Mark or Saleem, whoever raises their hand fastest, would like to ask the other two a question. Why don't we go for that?
Well, I've got a question, Mark. Well, where do you see the future of DeFi in the short and medium term? I have no idea where it goes in the long term. But you're probably as good a person as we could ask globally as to what's the short and medium term future of DeFi. What applications, use cases, what developments do you expect to see happen in the space?
Well, logistics. Logistics. So when I look at blockchain, I always say, if you can do it through another application, keep doing it with that. Don't try to do something that it doesn't well. It's areas that are struggling, and that's that. I see it also like loans. I'm looking into working with a fund to do a thing where it's like you give the company and you fund it completely and you help it through an exit. You give the CEO a salary and you do the financing, accounting, and you surround them with that. Because usually they're brilliant, but they can't raise capital and they don't know the rest. Instead of, you don't tell your child get lost, right? And that's what we do to companies. Oh, I'm only going to give you Series A. What about after that? Oh, you figure it out.
Right.
That's a good point.
So I think when you look at DeFi, it's really, look, people like ourselves, hopefully, who are good humans and who mean well, surrounded by others, will use it in areas where there's a problem and a pain, right? I always say, you know, when my head hurts, I nap or relax or get a massage. I don't just do it for the heck of it. And so don't use blockchain just for the heck of it. Use it when there's that pain. And that's when I think it'll be wow. It's kind of like you guys did what you did because you saw the pain and you saw a problem. Not because, well, let's spend 8 hours doing, you know, building something for 8 years that we don't need to do.
For sure. You know, for me, I think DeFi, I think it's an expression of a latent need that's been empowered by blockchain and cryptocurrency. Now, I'm not quite so sure that I think that all the things that people are thinking, it's the new hammer nail thing. Like, to hammer everything is a nail, right? So at the moment, when I look at all the hype around DeFi and the hype around NFTs as well, and we're going to end up with DeFi NFTs. I don't know where that's going to go, but what I think we're going to see is a settling out of a baseline of financial services that have always been provided by centralized entities and governments, becoming available for, frankly, all the way down to the individual to be the bank of me, if you wish. I mean, you're going to be able to do these things. Yes, it will require a modicum of technical skill, but whatever didn't, the interfaces will always get better, right? You fed your village originally because you mastered fire. Good job. You know, this is just more of that. And I think we will see that if you wish, you'll be able to leverage things like DeFi and all the capabilities. And it's a whole vast array of capabilities that are going to come online. It's going to create that potential fintech layer that everybody's been trying to make for so long, and it's going to make it highly democratized, oddly enough demonetized, and probably hit on the other key D's as well. So that's my thought on that one, Saleem.
Okay, but let me present something to both of you. Think about, there's to me two types of people. You have the Bill Gates, the brilliant guy who will give you what you need now, half baked and half doesn't work. And then there's the Steve Jobs who'll give you what you need, but you didn't know you needed. When BlackBerry was there, and then we got the iPhone, I use my iPhone as a computer. Nobody ever thought that the internet on the iPhone or on a phone would be able to do what it does. Nobody saw it. And now it's like this. So to me, with DeFi and some of these things, and I'll tell you what, I can take a napkin idea and take it go there, but I'm not the napkin person. So I always say I'll never be a true founder because I'm not sitting there on the napkin like I sat next to a guy on the plane and he drew something and patented. Some people have that, right? The problem is they can't finish that all the way through unless they're an engineer. So that's what it's going to take. It's going to take somebody like that can see something that we can't see. And then we're like, oh, well, makes sense. Boom.
I've been a founder since I was 11, and I've suffered greatly for it. I get asked all the time, "Oh, do you think I should start a business?" My blanket answer is always no, right? And if I tell them no like 10 times, don't tell them I said this right now, but if I tell them no like 10 times and they still do it, then I'm happy to help them. But being a founder is one of the hardest things in the world.
Yeah.
It's good to know whether you should do that or not. Mark, I want to flip this around. So Saleem asked a question. Now you've got Saleem and I here, co-founders OpenExO, both have been working on this project, the EXO economy and the Exos token for years, a community of 8,000 people. You're here on a show today, sharing your wisdom and your hard-earned knowledge. Do you have anything you'd ask us if you were the?
Yeah. So how did you come together?
Okay.
And then how did you come together? And then how did you come together to do this? And what traction point were you really excited at? And what traction point were you like arguing or whatever?
Okay. So that's fun. So we met in March of 2013. Saleem was running back and forth on a stage at an executive program at Singular University, and I was that really annoying student sitting right in the center of the front row with way too many questions, I think, and taking way too many notes. But that's how I met Saleem. And now that was long before we ever cracked any idea for a token. And so that's where we met. Saleem, you want to take a next bit of that? And I'll...
Yeah. Mark, my background is I was the founding CEO of Singularity University. So for probably my secret superpower is that for 7-8 years, I led most of the programs there. So if there's a lecture, lab, workshop on blockchain or autonomous cars or drones or AI, I've heard each one like 60 times. As my wife says, I can now pretend to speak about anything as a result. And through that, I got a deep sense that, okay, I call it 20 Gutenberg moments, right? The printing press in the 15th century changed the world, and I think we have 20 of those happening at the same time. Just solar energy changes the world completely. Then you add blockchain, then you add AI, etc. So that kind of was a really important starting point. The second thing we noticed that before doing Singularity, I was the head of innovation at Yahoo, running their incubator, and learned a fundamental lesson that when you try something disruptive in a legacy environment, the immune system attacks you, right? And now you're in a political fight. And I was fascinated by watching that. And then what we noticed in about 2011, 2012, was there was a completely new breed of organization that was emerging that we'd never seen before, where they learned how to scale the org structure as fast as we could scale technology. Look at TED, the way TED uses X events and generates decentralized communities to scale, right? Unbelievable that they could do this, Uber going the same way, not hiring its own staff. So we wrote a book called Exponential Organizations, where Kent and our ecosystem is a major contributor. We're now working on the second edition of that book. And we started creating tool sets for this transformation. Primarily, we've solved that immune system problem in big companies. So we've created a 10-week program that we piloted with Procter & Gamble that was leadership, culture, and management thinking 3 years ahead in 10 weeks. We've done it 50 times now with Black & Decker, HP, Visa, etc. Average ROI is like 70x when people run that program, average. So it's a pretty powerful program, and we've been building an ecosystem that is now almost, as Kent mentioned, almost 8,000 consultants, experts, technologists, change agents focused on the transformation. We have a nonprofit called the Fast Track Institute that focuses on the public sector sprints, because in public sector it's harder. The immune system is the existing policy, right? And so that's we've run it 8 times on that model, and we know how to do it. And now we're trying to figure out how to scale it. And
so how have you kept it not watered down? So when I've turned around organizations, I'm like, you're so big, you have to connect with people one-on-one, and it's really difficult because when it's small, you can control like-minded and so forth. Then all of a sudden, a narcissist and something comes in, and you're busy doing something else, merger, acquisition, whatever, and then boom, all of a sudden, you're all these big companies were small, good companies that were doing brilliant things, and somewhere along the line, they lost their focus or whatever due to something or someone.
Yeah. So one of the key concepts in the idea of exponential organizations, maybe the most important, is what we call an MTP, or a massive transformative purpose. And so you have Google organize the world's information, or Uber, or everybody's private driver. And we found that every one of these has this, what Simon Sinek calls the North Star, right? That answers the question, why do you exist? What fundamental problem are you trying to solve? And so the purpose of the founders is essentially only one thing in this new model, is to hold the purpose, hold the line, and not diverge. So we've had to make some very tough choices. For example, a big consulting company wanted to acquire us 3-4 years ago, and we were about to open source our methodology, right, which is incompatible with the acquisition. So now which do you do? And we chose to open source because if we went down the acquisition route, we might earn a bit of money, but it doesn't satisfy the purpose of transforming business globally. So you adhere to the purpose. That becomes a harder bit. The thesis, I've always lived on the principle that it's very uncomfortable principle do the right thing, and the money will follow. It'll take
absolutely purpose over ego. Purpose over ego. Absolutely.
So if you can, it's not easy to actually live by it when you need to put food on the table at times, and dark times like last year was a tough time.
Yeah.
And we've had our stumbles along the way. We thought that we could automate the sprint and create a 50K version that mid-market companies could use, and it turned out that didn't work because even for a mid-market company, it's a pretty strategic thing to do. And therefore, the sales cycle blows open, right?
But really, what you guys have done is truly amazing. I mean, I've consulted, a fund that's got over 20 trillion, and some of the things that you see in some of these is so bad.
Yeah,
it's so out of there. Money doesn't mean you're good. It means you've had it, you've made it some way or another, but it does not add any credibility to me at all.
Zero. I agree.
You need it for cancer. You need it to buy watermelon. You need it to wipe your butt. But it doesn't validate what you've done.
No, it doesn't. And this is why when we go work for a big company, we basically start and say, let's start helping you apply these principles. Most important, let's move your brand promise to an MTP so that you're trying to do good things for the world. I'll give a small example. Paul Pullman, the CEO of Unilever, read the book and ordered every brand in Unilever to take on an MTP. And now the 5 most profitable brands are the ones that have adopted it the most, right? So there's some good traction that we're seeing. And now we're seeing the whole rise of the purpose-driven organization and all the buzzwords coming out of it. We've been kind of talking this and spotting this. And because we're early on in watching the technology thing, we were early in being able to say, this is what future organizations will look like. And actually, when I wrote the book, I thought we were too late, but it turns out we were too early even then. Now now the model is becoming very solid. So essentially, the summary of what we've learned how to do is in the same way that a Tony Robbins or Landmark Education uses neurolinguistic programming to achieve a subconscious state change in a person, we can do the same thing in a company, and essentially shift state very radically in a company or now in a public sector environment. The next tool set we're developing now is to work out the future and change the subconscious of an institution like education or journalism, because they all have their own immune systems, right? Religion probably has the worst immune system anywhere. We'll leave that for later.
Yeah, I've always said, and this is why I asked, because the relationship matters. I've always said, without people problems, you have no problems, right? And it's really, and I've told this to a company that guys were like, the people and the females were over 50, construction. I'm like, listen, if you don't want to leave here and you don't want to look for another job and you want to get paid, stop your bitching, work with each other. I don't want to get rid of anybody. You get rid of whoever is not good, because this is your livelihood and you've been here 30 years and the money isn't going to come from yoga or from the trees. And if you want to charge the customer more, value. So when somebody tells me, oh, McDonald's needs to pay more, I'm like, okay, will you pay more for the burger? So, that's great with the amount of people you've done, how you've done it, and kept the core. Because, like you said, saying it and doing it are two different things.
Well, there's an important point you raised, which is how do you maintain quality when you have an ecosystem approach like we're trying to do? And it took us a full 2 years to learn how to run the sprint in the ecosystem so that it scales, right? And we have a very structured process, and we embed a lot of checkpoints and tick boxes in the process to maintain quality. And now we've open sourced the methodology so that anybody can pick it up and run with it independently of us, because every one of the global 5,000 has to go through this transformation with or without us. And so we've achieved that on the private sector company corporate transformation side. We've started to achieve it on the public sector city transforming a state. We've worked with the Supreme Court in Colombia to transform the system in Colombia, or the mayor of Miami to transform public transportation there. Yep. Now we're looking at, okay, let's go transform all of the 50 or 60 major institutions by which we run the world, legal systems, healthcare systems. Like, nobody has any idea what journalism should look like, right? So let's run a sprint on that and figure out what the future should look like. At least we have a target then. And that's what we're going to be doing next.
And I want to point out two things. First of all, I got a chance to reflect while I was listening to you guys, which was great because you asked an interesting question, Mark. But second, when he says, let's go transform, when Saleem says that, you got to understand, it doesn't mean like me and Saleem, like us too. No, there are 7,756 people who have signed up and said, yeah, let's transform the world for a better future. That's what we mean when we say let's, and we've created the tools and the processes and the possibility that that can actually happen. And we've demonstrated that it's possible. There's no guessing here. We know it works. And the other question you asked, Mark, which I thought was really interesting, is because I've been working with Saleem for a while now, is something along the lines of where did you disagree? And I think we've had an extraordinarily few disagreements actually over this time frame, but it's inevitable, right? And most of the time, it's always been about time or timing. So whenever we've had a disagreement, it's like Saleem might want to do something like yesterday, and I was like, hang on, man. Like, we need to, let's take a second. Let's look at who we need to get here, and let's make this so that we can actually execute it and it doesn't blow up in our face. I'd say there's like, in that respect, I tend to look like the cautious one, but then there are other times where we need to actually get something like really done, and I'll be pushing, and Saleem's like, whoa. And I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, I need to know X, Y, and Z, and he'll make me think it through. So I can be that impulsive entrepreneur as well. So that there's been, I'd say it's just the only, I was really trying to think like, time and timing for me would be when we've seen any real disagreements at all. And they've not been fatal disagreements. I've been a founder many times, and I've had my share of founder disputes, right? And they're no fun.
Well, doing something together and agreeing on it doesn't mean it's going to run right either, right?
That's very true. Yeah.
Okay,
so
yeah. I'm going to ask one more question, all right? This one is, where hasn't it worked when you thought it was going to work? What, you don't have to name the company, but maybe like a little bit of the situation. Where were you both like excited and then disappointed?
Where do we start with that one?
Oh my God, yeah.
Early on in my career, I built a website and a capability called pubsub.com, which was a matching engine that powered the entire blogosphere. And we were 18 months too early before social networks, so nobody knew what would you do matching on. And we that totally failed because it was too early. I built an event management platform that took the wrong go-to-market approach. We tried to be nice to the conference organizers, and Eventbrite said, let's just help people organize free events and then monetize the stack later, which was a better way of doing it. So that wiped us out. I've had 8 startups, 5 have failed. Sold one to Google. And so there's been, about the 2/3, 1/3 failure ratios. Typically, I'm in the camp of most of in that same model. Kent is about the same. In our particular incarnation here, we tried the 50K sprint and it failed. We've tried with great difficulty to keep I totally underestimated how hard it is to build. It's hard enough to build a company, right? But building an ecosystem is like a network effect level of that, because it's like
raising somebody else's child.
It's like Metcalfe's law on steroids for the ecosystem. All the difficulty you have in a company, you scale it through the whole network. And we have ego issues and people going, that should be my customer or whatever, I should be handling that. So it's actually incredibly hard to build an ecosystem. We needed this 2 years ago to create more liquidity in the ecosystem, because the economic binding that the token will provide on everything that we do will be a super strong incentive mechanism for around this. By the way, the city of Medellin has created a copy of our blockchain, and they use it to run their innovation ecosystem in Medellin. Chile has done the same thing. Accenture has bought a chunk of tokens. So we're in a very bizarre position where kind of big companies have adopted it. About 400 companies have bought tokens to buy training and certification for their people. And so that's a very weird animal we have that very few people have.
Are you sharing the knowledge to see what has worked with them, what hasn't worked, and so forth? Is there? And the reason
not well enough. Half the time we don't even know what the ecosystem is doing, because they're just tracking what they're all doing. It's incredibly difficult.
Let me answer your question with that. So one of the things that I've found is extraordinarily difficult, and it's the reason we created these town hall events, by the way. You try telling 8,000 people something, and all of them getting the same message. and then being able to act on it as they see fit in a reasonable way. Oh my God!
Well,
it might
Rush
actually
Limbaugh
be
died.
impossible. Pardon?
I said Rush Limbaugh died. I listened to him one time, and he would like fill stadiums in the old days. I'm not saying agree with him or not, but there's a guy that he had a following like no other. It was unbelievable.
And so then to close that out, I say try telling someone. What do I mean? I don't mean telling them to do something. That's not what I'm talking about. Try sharing knowledge with 8,000 people ubiquitously in a way that you're trying to really help. And this is an act of education.
Yeah.
So one of the ways that we've I think not remotely achieved our potential is that we have a training division, right? We have a media company now. We created a media company to be able to train people better so that we can get the message out. Period.
Yeah.
Like that's why this thing will process. It'll end up on the video hubs. It'll syndicate to all the different websites and products, and it'll be cut down to a few less minutes. And we'll write summary articles. I mean, this is what we've had to learn to do. And historically, that is not something we've done remotely well enough. And I don't even think we're close. But I will tell you that every single day, every meeting I run, EXO World Media Operations, every single Tuesday, it was right before this today started, we get better at it. And so we created a system that's a lot like a holacracy. It's not truly a holacracy or a sociocracy, but the system of communications architecture is meant to drive forward every single week. Even if we just improve a fraction of a percent, I'm thrilled.
We had a question pop up in our group chat with all of our ambassadors saying, "Oh, is there a token sale going on?"
Yeah, I know. And, Saleem had to wipe me up scrape me off the ceiling after that one.
For like 3 months, we've been nonstop talking about this. So, getting the ecosystem up to the same level is unbelievably freaking difficult. Much harder than I would have ever imagined.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, but you guys have the personality because look, you cannot tell people what to do. Okay, you have to educate them. You have to figure out how to get that light bulb in their brain to light up, and once it lights up, they do it. And then you got to get. I used to say, in companies, I'm like, Mark, I'm a VP. I have 5,000 reports. I go, no, you don't have 5,000 reports. You have 3, and they manage the others. So I'm always like, create pods. Right. Create pods of 10, 15 with one in the middle that, educates and puts the path. You can put all the paperwork and all the rules in the world, but you can't replicate passion. You can't replicate energy, right? And you can't replicate your thought process. But it's able to, and when you're like yourself, futurists and so forth, it's hard to have others who are not like us or whatever that can see it, right? I worked with a guy who's like, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, 10 years later, it was needed. And it just sat on the shelf and we kept paying for the patent and paying for the patent, right? Yeah. And so so you have it right there. It's now getting that message out. And, and even when you speak in front of people, right, there's like 4 or 5 different personalities. And so your personality might gel with an Elon Musk, but it might not gel with Jim Bob, right, or whoever. And so then how?
Yeah, I'm from Kentucky. I'm the one that talks to all the Jim Bobs.
There's one more really important bifurcation, which is the scarcity to abundance bifurcation, right? And almost everybody in the world operates on a pessimism kind of a model. Oh my God, the world is screwed, et cetera, et cetera. And showing them the incredible opportunity via technology to deliver abundance is a super hard thing to do. And so trying to bring the ecosystem along that journey, because people are like, yeah, but I'm in Shanghai and it's a mess over here because of this, or I'm in Bangalore and it's a mess because of this, and trying to bring them all along to the same optimism that we think is deserved because of the incredible opportunities via technology to deliver clean water, vertical farming, to deliver food, etc., are all there. And so we've been framing it as we have 2 futures in the world. You either have a Mad Max future or a Star Trek future, right? And we're very clear that this is a viable option and we can see it happening. Let's just tilt that future. And flipping people from pessimism to optimism has been incredibly difficult. But the journey is totally worth it.
We have done it though. I'm not going to name any names because I think some of us know them, but I've seen it happening, and I've seen it happening in accelerating rates, Saleem.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about that because I really just want people to know that this token was created for them so that they could find this path to creating a form of digital asset that has value that they can work with as it.
I want to just mention something here. We're a benefit corp. We're a Delaware B Corp. Okay, and our bylaws say the benefits of the company go into the ecosystem. Okay, corporate bylaws. Our ecosystem cannot get their heads around that. We cannot get their heads. They think we're like extracting money from them, or we're there as some sort of evil overlord because that's what they're used to in other types of models like this, right?
Well,
ask my wife. If you want to think that's happening, just ask my wife. She'll tell you. No.
They're like, you're not really going to do it. And we're like, no, we are doing it. And that's what we're trying to do. And that's the only reason we exist, because and maybe that's the hardest part, is getting the community to believe that we're there for their benefit and we're there to support them. That has been unbelievably hard to do.
To me, there's only this part in your life where everything's perfect. You don't have a friend who's sick. You don't have any issues. The rest, everybody struggles. And I tell people, I've had 17 family members die of cancer. And they're like, well, you survived through 3 times in stage 4. How come? I'm like, I don't know. There are people that I know who are stronger, better. But I have chronic pain. And how I deal with chronic pain, I'm like, well, I live for the people who have died, who wanted to live. There are people who wanted to live. So it would be arrogant and irresponsible for me to bitch about my pain and suffering and so forth, but instead embrace it and enjoy it. And no matter where you are, in Africa, Lebanon, wherever, people forget that others suffer. Everyone suffers in one way or another. And people's pain is different. Yeah. And just because if you can handle mental illness, I might not be able to. So I always say, just because somebody handled it doesn't mean another person can handle it the same way. And that's where with human it's a little bit different, right? And I think, but it's hard to say that when a person is in their basement. I always say when a person is in their basement, they shut down. It's getting them out of the basement so they can clearly think. When they go way down, it's too late. It's too late.
Yeah.
Well, that reminds me of Maslowian hierarchies. It reminds me of spiral dynamics. You've got to get people up that ladder. You've got to get people up to the top of that pyramid so they can really express their true selves and their capabilities.
And you've got to spend time with them. You can't tell me you have 10,000 friends and oh my God, when I hear somebody's like, oh my God, he killed himself, I didn't know. When was the last time you talked to him? A year ago? Well, we need to spend more time with people. And people cry for help and sometimes they don't cry for help, but there's that lack of I'm busy. Well, okay, but the most important thing is humanity and each other. Yeah. And if we lose focus on that.
I have a question for you on that topic, Mark. Yeah. I've read a bit about your background. You've been through unbelievable near-death experiences multiple times, stage 4 cancer, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
So you come out of that, and I had once a near-death experience, and for the next few days, every nut and bolt looked like the most beautiful thing in the world to me, right? And how do you? But you come out of that, and then you get jaded, and you very quickly can go back to an old state. How do you? What practices do you have to keep your optimism and appreciation for the beauty of life? What do you do?
Talking to people like this, really, that's what I love. Not necessarily Zooms and stuff. I used to, early on, I was like every typical guy, 30 meetings, I need 1 million Twitter followers, blah, blah, blah. Then after that, all of that is garbage, right? And then it's just the humanity and just that enjoyment. And I tell people, it's like being a father or being a provider. It's the same thing with being a friend, right? are you a true friend or are you a friend because you need something? Right? So I'll have somebody say, oh, Mark, I'm in the area. I came to see you. No, you didn't come to see me. Go. When I go to see somebody, I go to see them. When I'm doing something, I don't multitask. My phone is shut. I give them the attention. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. If you want, if you just want to use me, tell me. So before COVID, I used to hug people. I'm like, now I know you're a crook. Thank you. The faster you know how a person is, the faster you can walk away. So I tell people sometimes being told no or sometimes things failing, it's good because forget the ego. Oh, you don't always have to win. Sometimes not winning gets you something better. Sometimes it's a better acquisition because you didn't want to get, so we don't think about that because we don't know what later is going to happen. And there's too much of that hunt, win. Well, it's like I tell people, contracts. Well, contracts, you don't need a contract. You only need a contract when there's a problem. And then when there's a problem, even if you win, you lose. So I prefer not to have, so when somebody wants to do this contract that's going to take 6 months to a year, I say bye-bye.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, Mark and Saleem, this has been a very engaging panel. I enjoyed it very much. Mark, thank you so much for being here with us today and spending some time with us here at the ExO Economy. I can't thank you enough, and I am certain we will run into you again very soon somewhere. So
it's my pleasure.
With that, I'm going to say thank you to you, Saleem, for the time you gave us today as well on the panel and earlier on. I'm really certain I'll talk to you soon, and we'll have something to go over. And then, but what we're going to do next, as you guys fade off into the stream,
Mark,
is
you look forward to next chats.
Same here.
Thank you, gentlemen. Is I'm going to be trying to tackle some community Q&A. So what happens is in between these events. These weekly events that we're holding now for a little while, is we get lots of questions. We get them on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Discord, Telegram, WhatsApp, private messages, and what I'm committing is that I'll answer as many as I can in each of these town halls, and then we'll continue to collect them. Thank you, Nikki, for helping to do that, so that we can then post the questions and answers as we compile them over time. Not necessarily an FAQ, but just something we can put somewhere so that everybody can keep up, catch up, ask new questions. And I think that's the best way we can do this. We also switched to a broadcast format recently, which doesn't make it as easy to do the interactive piece, but it does help us get messages out to more people in more places faster on the medium which they prefer. So there is that. So with that, I'm going to start just going through some questions. We are at 38 minutes after the hour. This stage goes back over to Nikki at 58 minutes after the hour. So I don't know if there's 20 minutes worth of questions or not, but probably. So we'll get through this, okay? So by the way, I don't have answers to all of these questions, which is fine too. And in cases where I say, hey, I don't know, or we haven't made that yet, that's a signal to us as a community that we might need to rally around that and figure it out. So I'm going to start with this first one. And this is a common question I get in many, many forums. Is there sort of a dummies guide or a starter guide or an intro guide to the ExO economy? It's a really good question. We have what's called the business overview, which we'll republish shortly. We've pulled it off for a few modifications as we move toward the first decentralized exchange listing. We have seen tools like the Academy at Binance.com, and we need to do that. We create online training courses, and in those training courses, like ExO Foundations and OpenExO Consultant course, there are some parts of that where we teach you how to use the ExO Economy Exos and talk to you about what that means, and even let you do it. It's part of the curriculum. If you're taking the consulting, for example, or the coach, you have to learn how to use Exos in the marketplace. It's part of the work. So the answer is, I don't have truly a intro to the ExO economy guide. But when I said this the other day on a call, a really beautiful thing happened. A couple of community members reached out to me and says, well, we will help you. And I said, oh, thank you, please. And so I am quite aware of something that we're thinking of as extracting and then adding to. So extracting from the business overview, which is 67 pages, and adding to with all of the work we've been doing in tokenomics, in DeFi economics, and creating something called a light paper. So I do think that that's coming. We do have FAQs available, and we're constantly adding to them at economy.openexo.com/FAQ. Go visit that. And I really, really, really would encourage you, and I know it's an investment in time, but thank you to YouTube and other tools. You can sort of fast forward and play these things back faster. Look at these events. These events were made to help address these sort of questions from people that are new to OpenExO or the EXO economy. So go check it out. Next question. Why are there so many wallets? Okay, so as you know, we've been at this project for a while. When we launched this project, genesis of this token in 2018 in April, the best technology on the planet to run a Bitcoin variant like ours was called QT. It's called the QT wallet. It's still the wallet primarily used today for most Bitcoin if you're not using a third-party wallet slash exchange or swap type situation. And that's the one we started with. Why? Because we needed to have staking, because we're a proof of stake network. And there's a lot of stuff about the history of how the network was born that's super interesting around this. But one of the problems with the QT wallet, the original QT wallet, was that it didn't allow us to do multi-signature. But we needed multi-signature transactions for keeping treasuries and larger scale wallets secure. So we went and we launched Electrum. Now, Electrum, why? Because it was the best technology available for that moment in time. Fast forward a few years now, the technology has progressed pretty dramatically. And if you go and you take a look at what we now call the Exos core wallet, it's really interesting. And then it has a hybrid of some of the features of Electrum, not multi-signature, but something called, being that it's a heuristic deterministic or an HD wallet, you can recover your wallet with a specific seed phrase, which allows you to lose your computer or something like that and still recover your wallet onto another computer later, as long as you have that seed phrase. It's like a master key, if you like, to the tokens on the blockchain through the keys. Let me put it this way: the seed allows you to recreate your keys, which allows you to access the tokens on the blockchain. QT can't do that. QT doesn't do that. It has a whole different way of backing up the tokens. Electrum does that. So QT doesn't have the HD mechanisms. Electrum doesn't have the staking mechanisms. Well, guess what? Yay, now we have Exos Core. It has staking and it's an HD wallet, so you can protect your tokens better. Bad news, it doesn't yet, at least, have the capability to do multi-signature transactions. So we are deprecating QT, we're keeping Electrum, and we're pushing forward with Exos Core as a primary staking wallet. Seriously, if you are running Exos QT, or if you're one of those 2 people out there who we know you exist, are running CivX QT, which is the super, super old before we rebranded it, please upgrade to Exos Core, and then we'll have one less wallet to worry about. Now, there are other wallets. Guess what? There's so many more wallets. There is a portal wallet if you use the Exos token sale portal at exos.openexo.com. In Discord itself, when you have a Discord wallet in the tipping channel, it is a wallet. You can send and receive tokens to that thing if you want to, and then pull them out, put more in. And we're moving toward this DeFi space. Well, now we've got to look at the whole Ethereum ecosystem. If we want to bridge Exos and the Exos blockchain to Ethereum, then we have to create the bridge, and we have to use a wallet that is native to the Ethereum network to hold the ERC20 token. So we're aiming at MetaMask for that side, and we're going to be modifying the Exos Core wallet to help create that bridge to swap into those ERC20 tokens. Those are going to be called WEXOs, W-E-X-O-S, lowercase w, capital E-X-O-S. Don't want to go too far into that right now, but yeah, you know what? in this world, there is a need for multiple wallets, but generally speaking, it's settling down to the recommendation that we basically will use Exos Core for your main token holding and staking. Please stake, and then Electrum if you have a specialized use case where you do multi-signature, and then MetaMask in the future for handling the Wexos, which is their ERC20 version of the Exos token. So that's the answer to that. Long answer, but it's sort of just a necessity if you're going to be your own bank, so to speak. Next question: where to start with my first wallet? Exos Core. Pause for dramatic effect. The next one to move down here. Okay, here's some fun questions. What is a wrapped token? Funny enough, a wrapped token is really just a separate token that runs on a different blockchain. We call it wrapped because it is linked in a way to the original token. In the case of Wexos, it's a one-for-one link. So every time a Wexos get created, an Exos gets locked in a pool. And as long as that Exos stays in the pool, the Wexos exist. When you bring the Exos and the Wexo back out of the pool, thus that's liquidity, that Wexos will cease to exist. The original Exos will, we hope, never cease to exist. The Exos are kind of like the foundation of it, right? It's the root chain of something like a Wexos on another chain. And when I said earlier about Binance Smart Chain, we might end up with, I don't know, would we call that Wexos or would we call that Dexos? I don't know. It's a great question, but we'll look at that. There could end up being a lot of these, but ultimately, a wrap token is just an instantiation of your token running on another blockchain for compatibility reasons, so you can tap into the capabilities of that chain. So with Wexos on Ethereum, we're tapping into the Ethereum ecosystem on behalf of our Exos holders. Hear that last part, very important. Let me keep skipping down here. Okay, somebody's asking, good. What is DeFi? So DeFi is an acronym. It's short for decentralized finance. You know, I'm just going to completely read verbatim what you'll get if you Google this. It's an umbrella term for a variety of financial applications in cryptocurrency or blockchain geared toward disrupting financial intermediaries. I don't really like that last part for disrupting financial intermediaries, but it's what it says on Google, so I'll say it. The DeFi is distinct though, and what it really allows, and this is what I was talking about earlier I think in the panel, was there's this list of really complicated or complex financial use cases where if you're just on the base chain, maybe you can send and receive tokens, get paid. But in DeFi, you can do very much more complex financial structures like lending pools, like liquidity trading pairs, and in some cases on some chains, with certain types of automated market makers, or the algorithm that runs the trading pairs, you can have up to 8 or 10 different tokens it's not even a trading pair, it's like a trading mesh. So it's allowing for that kind of complexity. DeFi is really turning the financial services industry on its head, and it's that capability that is expressing one of the capabilities of smart contracts so beautifully and disruptively. So really neat. Good question here. Where do I get support if I'm stuck? Okay, so the number of people using Exos has grown a lot. Historically, you'd probably just call somebody up, not naming any names. It's not me, I know. But no, the thing is today, we set up something called a Discord server. This is a thing where we were able to do some integration with the blockchain. Like I said, the tip bot, which is super fun. So if somebody does help you, you can send them a little tip. That's a nice thing to do. So go to the Discord server. You can find the Discord server by going to the economy.openexo website, search for Discord, scroll down, you'll find it. Maybe we should make that a really big button, Nikki. And you'll find that there are a lot of nice people in the Discord ExO, what is it called? Exos Core support channel, in particular for that wallet, that will do their best to help you out. And if you just can't get through it and you end up needing a one-on-one session with somebody, we'll sort that out. We'll find the way. We'd ask you to be a little patient. We're growing. We're small, so there's not a lot of we're a small team, so there's not a whole ton of people, but more and more community members, and especially ambassadors out there, thank you, who are doing this, are stepping in to try to support people and help them get through their first onboarding to crypto. I'm kind of particularly proud of the EXO economy and the OpenExO community for being an on-ramp to crypto for a lot of people who otherwise, who knows how long it would be, if ever, that they would try to use cryptocurrency for any reason. But now they can, and it's got good utility. So there you go. There's also a Telegram channel, sort of impassioned plea as we're going toward the Uniswap trading. The listing there is familiarize yourself with the Telegram channel. This is really important. Why? Telegram has emerged as one of the leading places in the crypto space. Not so much in the OpenExO space. That's more our platform. Happens some on WhatsApp, happens in Discord. But when you look at, even happens in Slack for individual projects like sprints and things. But Telegram's more that place where we're interfacing more with the world of crypto and meets the world of EXO. So I would really please ask you to go out there and find the links. And I can't show you links right now, but oh, see, Kevin, thank you. I see it on the right, right there. So there's the link to Discord. I bet you if I sort of go like this and go, could he put the link to Telegram? Maybe it'll show up. We'll see. That would be great. So next, yes, someone says that they were having an issue with the Exos token sale portal. For those of you who don't know, there is an Exos token sale portal. Some people, not everybody, there are certain areas of the world that are blocked, can pick up tokens right now at a lower price. At a low price. The reason for that, if you're having a problem with that, you need to just email that support email address that's associated with the portal, right? Go direct into that one. That's the right way to do it, and it will get routed to the right person, okay? So sorry that's not a totally great answer, but it does. Oh, look, there's the, thank you, Nikki. There's the Discord and the Telegram. So here we go, Discord, and over here we got Telegram. Please go there. We really need community voices in those spaces, talking about their experiences with OpenExO and sharing with the world of crypto. Where do I find the Exos core wallet? So I told you the wallet to care about, unless you have a specialized use case, is the Exos core wallet. Not only is it beautiful, it is highly functional and easy to use. I think it is a massive step forward in user experience for cryptocurrency. We have a lot of people to thank for the fact that that exists and works the way it does and looks the way it does. There's the whole marketing team, the design team. We've got Ray and Kate and Nikki and gosh, I don't even know who all is putting into that. And then we've got the block core team, which is our upstream for the Exos blockchain, that has done a tremendous amount of work to bring this wonderful piece of wallet technology that's not just a wallet, but it's actually a development platform on its own. I've given demos of this in dozens of places, so I'm not going to do it today, but I would encourage you to go back and look, and we'll put some demos somewhere of something. So we should do that, like a little screencast version on the main web page, especially of the API functionality that's in the Exos core wallet. And however many Exos you have, put them in the wallet, go into the wallet tab, type in your wallet password, click staking, and boom, you're staking. You're securing the network, you're processing transactions. You might be the next one to add a block to the blockchain, which is super cool every time it happens. So that's really fun. There's so many tutorials. If you're on the OpenExO platform and you go to the help bubble down at the bottom right-hand side, we use Intercom. There's Kevin has produced, I don't know how many how-to videos. I just produced a video that Kevin helped me edit that turned into how to move your tokens from the Exos token sale portal into your own Exos core wallet. That was a week ago. So there's just so many. I mean, really, if you just look around a bit, you'll find those things. If you just can't find it, come into Discord, come into Telegram, come onto the platform at platform.openexo.com. Ask. We will help you. Someone will help you, for sure. Someone's asking, how do I download MetaMask? And I've mentioned that a few times. Well, we're not there yet. So, you download MetaMask. It's a browser plugin. It's very easy to find it. Just go to your Chrome browser, your Brave. I love Brave. Use Brave. Your Brave browser, your Firefox browser, Edge, whatever floats your boat. It works in almost all of them. Search in the browser plugins for MetaMask and you'll find it. It's not a standalone download. It's a browser plugin. You don't necessarily, somebody's asking, how do I download Uniswap? You don't. You use Uniswap. We're in the process of creating the dashboard that will help you interface with Wexos, Exos on the Ethereum blockchain and leverage the Uniswap decentralized exchange. There's not something to download there. We are building a bridge into the Exos core wallet that will help you with that as well, in addition to the dashboard piece. It's going to be super cool. Where do I view the state of the Exos address, aka third birth party? Ugh, I'm running out of words. Never happens, don't worry. The economy.openexo.com/third-replay. This is where we put the replay for the third birthday. Just really go to the economy website, economy.openexo.com. Scroll down a little bit, you'll find the video on demand hub. I'm not sure, Nikki, but maybe we should move that up because I've said scroll down to find the video hub about 100 times in the last week. So just as a thought, maybe we should look at that with the team, the website team. So there's that. Where do I catch up on replays of town hall sessions? This is a town hall session. I really enjoyed this one. They are all on the economy website. Please go to economy.openexo.com and find the video hub there on the page, click it, and you've got hours of entertainment. Make some popcorn, enjoy yourself. Invite friends, it's great fun. All right, so a bunch more questions here. These categorized under engagement. Let me check and see if anybody's sending me anything. Okay, actually, let me scroll down to the bottom, hang on. Oh gosh, lots of more stuff has come in. Oh, no, I did not know that. This is someone commenting on the prior panel. Can you believe that you can load a near-death experience in VR? No, thank you. I've had my share more than once. I don't want to do that ever again if I can avoid it. Another question, are there plans to integrate Exos with the OpenExO media platform, e.g. to incentivize engagement with content? Yes, absolutely. How's this going to happen? APIs. APIs are our interfaces programmatically to all things OpenExO, platform, media, training, and solutions. And so really right now we're building out the base APIs. If you go to openexo.com/dev, dev, openexo.com/dev, you will see the current status of the development of the APIs. And we're currently in the process of finalizing the OpenExO platform marketplace APIs, for example. And we very much see many opportunities for the incentivization of content creation, content interaction, content sharing, marketplace activities where you're hiring and performing tasks related to OpenExO processes like sprints and fast tracks and advisor tickets and so much more. One of my favorite use cases for this is that if you look at the way the training team uses the marketplace, you'll see a bunch of these marketplace opportunities that are for 200 Exos and $100, as I recall. If you do one of those, what are you doing? You're actually earning Exos, you're earning dollars, and you're helping a student through their curriculum to become an OpenExO certified consultant. That's really neat. Right? It's a lower price ticket, but you're actually really helping someone move a project forward. And their projects are generally real because they're actually consultants in the world who want to learn to implement the EXO model. So they're working on real client projects. This has been so cool. I mean, Yaroslav could go for days about all the incredible things he's seen happen through that process. And that's a way that we integrated Exos into education. about EXO. We've also seen Exos integrated into education about other things, general business, consulting, and many more to come. I've got some exciting announcements along those lines coming up for maybe a month from now. So really, really cool stuff. Checking the clock. We are at 12:59. Well, let me see if there's just one more, Nikki, before you pull me off the stage. I said I'd get as many in as I could. Let's see. No, you know what? I will. Oh, wait. Do you see? Let me try one more. Okay. No, I already answered that. Great. We're good, Nikki. I did okay. I covered a lot of them. I tried to pick from all the different sessions. Nikki, great show today. Thank you. And I have my show flow and I have my questions and we had amazing guests and gosh, and almost everything worked just like normal. And it was great. You did it. Thank you.
Yep. Oh, thank you. And thank everybody for being here today. This has been an amazing program. We will be sending clips of all the pearls of wisdom that just came through. But what I've done is put in chat the ways for you to talk to us, okay? Discord for support, Telegram for just general conversation, and we want to hear from you. That's where all these great questions came from. So mark your calendar, 3 more weeks left. We've got a great big season ending, May 18th, and that will be the end of the Doubling Challenge too, so we'll have a special event then. But every Tuesday, same time, same station, we will be broadcasting live from here out. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Bring a friend.
Bring a friend. Bring 5 friends.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.